Do you ever think about how low your head is? How maybe you would look better if your skull was higher? Maybe you just need the right hat. Or I could have invested in a bump it in the 2010s when I had a chance and they were popular. For those of you who are not a dinosaur like me and didn't grow up with bump it infomercials, they were essentially like dome-shaped plastic things that you put on your head and then you put your hair over it, creating more volume. And it was a style back then. It was also the style in the 60s. Everybody wanted more volume on their head. And now it is a style in China. Now, why is it so interesting that China is doing this trend? Well, we all know that China doesn't play around when it comes to fashion trends, and they have found a way to sort of make this permanent. It's more than just bumpets and hairdos. They're actually going under the knife to make their skulls bigger. So, what is the high cranial top trend? Well, essentially, the idea behind it is that if your crown of your hair and the top of your head has a bigger distance, then you just look more symmetrical and more proportioned and more youthful. That is the most important thing, is that it supposedly makes you look younger. Looking youthful is very important in China. It's kind of what everybody wants to achieve right now with all of the social media. Everybody is chasing the youth trend. Nobody wants to look older. And I guess that's always been the thing for every generation. Everybody wants to look younger, but China really does take it to an extreme. The filters there are insane. It can really change your whole face. Catfishing is on a whole nother level over there. So, how are Chinese people achieving this look aside from the classic hairstyles and hair accessories? Well, they have started going through cosmetic procedures for it. I'm going to start with the least invasive one, but it's still going to sound pretty invasive to you guys, trust me. Okay, so the first way of doing it, because there's essentially like two ways. It's according to my research. The first way is hyaluronic acid. And hyaluronic acid is magic. I know that a lot of us use it for our skin. I use it for my skin. I actually just started a skin care routine this year and I haven't had acne in like 3 months. I love hyaluronic acid. But they don't just rub it on your scalp. No, they inject it into your scalp and kind of want it to bubble up so that your head looks higher. I read something online about a girl who spent, hold on, let me read about this. 1 second. So there is a girl from Zhou, China, and she apparently spent 230,000 yuan in a beauty clinic and got 50 syringes of hyaluronic acid injected into her scalp. A month later, apparently her hair started falling off. Who could have seen that coming? Not me.
我吐了。2个多月之前吧，我刷到一个大白，他在讲头脸比例、容貌的焦虑的驱使吧，我种草了，专门赶去上海溜了高颅顶，就是在头顶的这块位置。刚开始的时候没有太大感觉，只是觉得有一点红肿，然后痒，会起白屑。运动的时候都会觉得有种神经被拉着的感觉，容易头疼。我以为这是正常的恢复的过程，然后1个月之后我就开始掉头发了，慢慢的出现斑秃，并且一发不可收拾，到现在越来越严重。而未来3到6个月我可能都长这样。再加上我的职业因素，可以说生理上的折磨是一部分，但心理上的痛苦才是最煎熬的。
Poor girl, like seriously, I could not imagine. I would be so upset about that happening. Hopefully, it's grown back at this point. Although I did read that some of these procedures can cause permanent baldness. I hope that's not what's happening to her, and I hope that it grows back. That is the least invasive one. Okay, so the second procedure is called the high cranial top surgery or the sagittal skull reshaping. And what that is they will cut into your skull, right? Make a little gap into your skull. And then they will put bone cement, which is it's a thing that they actually use, like surgeons actually use that in surgery. Bone cement dries in 5 minutes. So essentially they will inject it in there and then they have 5 minutes to mold it. So not only does the person performing this have to be good at surgery, but they should also be an artist and they should form your skull correctly. This procedure takes 30 minutes according to people who have had it, and it can be performed in even beauty salons. I don't believe that that's legal. However, it is being done. I find it interesting that China has taken this trend a step further just because it is just a trend. You don't know how long it's going to last. I know that hyaluronic acid is something that doesn't last forever. It is something that only lasts around like 6 months, but we don't know how long this trend is going to last. What if it is only a month long and now you have to have this big swollen head for 5 more months? Not only that, but it is also very like touchy, the hyaluronic acid. If you sleep on it wrong, it's pretty sensitive. If you sleep on it wrong, it'll flatten and you'll have a very obvious like flat head walking around. I Are the shots worth it? Now, as far as the bone cement surgery goes, I don't know how reversible that is. I mean, your body can only take so much skull surgery before it can't take any more, right? And I would assume that they would have to take that cement out of your skull and reshape it again. And hopefully, if it does become possible to reverse that, people don't go to beauty salons for that. They go to an actual doctor just because it just seems so risky. But honestly, if anybody was going to be doing skull reshaping, I trust the Chinese to do it because in 2019, a bunch of scientists discovered 25 skulls in Haotomuga, China, and 11 of the 25 skulls were modified by humans. So basically, 11 of them were elongated. The front part was flattened, and so was the back. And you could tell that it was reshaped. So I guess they have been doing this for years. The skulls were said to be between 5,000 and 12,000 years old. I think that I failed trying to make my cranial higher. It looks exactly the same as it did when I started. However, I do know how to make it look higher. Here, watch this. You guys can just look down a lot and it'll make your cranial look higher. So since I can't seem to figure out how to do this, I guess I'll conclude the video by letting you guys know that experts say that these are dangerous procedures. Do your research before doing them, but if it is something that you really want, remember that this is a trend and we don't know how long it's going to last. If it is still something that you want to do after considering that, then good luck. I hope your hair doesn't fall off, and I hope that whoever shapes your skull is an artist. I hope that they are a genius, and I hope that you come out looking like the influencers of Douyin and you look like a bad bee. Anyways, it's like 2 in the morning. I should probably get some sleep. Good night.